You take your hard-earned money, baby needs shoes funds, you head off on a trip either to a nearby casino or to Vegas, the adult capital of fun, supposedly, not a Vegas gal, and you trade your hard-earned money for a bunch of chips, a bunch of colorful chips that you can use to have fun all night long if you want. And you take these chips and you use them to play shake the dice and play some games of chance, maybe stick some chips in some machines, maybe play some poker, and before you know it, your big stack of chips is gone down to a couple, if you're lucky. If you're still lucky, until I play with a 4-year-old, some chips, just a few, maybe even one, maybe even none, but your chips are definitely down. Today our idiom is, of course, chips are down, and it comes from the poker and the gambling industry, thus the strange story about Vegas, but it's not different than my true experience with Vegas and with casinos. Learned a long time ago that gambling and games of chance are not particularly my forte. But what does this mean? People used to, of course, in gambling, and they still do games, exchange their money for chips of different denominations. And hopefully, their hope when they exchange their money for chips is that their chips will be up and that they'll get more chips and exchange those for more money. But in reality, what happens is the vast majority of people lose at gambling, thus the entire gambling industry, and their chips are down. Chips are down. This is it's from the 19th century. It's pretty modern compared to a lot of the expressions and the idioms that we talk about. But it went from being applied to fewer physical chips in a gambling situation or a poker game to being applied to almost every aspect and area of our life. We can say the chips are down in our relationships if we're struggling in our relationships. We can say the chips are down in a sports event or in a game, in a football or a basketball or any kind of baseball game, when one side is winning and the other side is losing. The other side feels like the chips are down for them because the numbers in the scoreboard reflect that they have less of a score, right? We can feel like the chips are down with our businesses, with our careers, with our jobs, with our finances, with politics, with the economy. I think a lot of us are feeling the pressure of the chips being down because there's so much change going through our world right now. I did have a really cool conversation with a young man yesterday. His dad's manufacturing business is up threefold in the last month since the quarantine and since the pandemic has really started affecting us. So as much as the chips might be down for us individually or us personally or our business, for other people the chips are up. So how do we make sure that we get our chips up and we end up better off at the end of this pandemic than when we went into it, no matter what our situation is? I've got a 5-step process that I'm using, and I encourage you to use as well, to ensure and guarantee that your business is better off. So what are those steps? Let's hop right into it. Number 1, you need to check your thinking. You need to look at what you're thinking about, what you're feeling, because that's tied into what you're thinking, and really take a look at it. Sit down for 3 minutes and write down everything you're feeling right now. Say about your business. Let's make it about our businesses, right? If your business is shut down, or if your business is cranking. I know a lot of people whose business is just exploding right now, and they're struggling with, how do I keep up? How do I keep going? How do I get the people and the resources I need to keep moving forward in this boom economy for them? Or a lot of people are in the, hey, my business is shut down. What the heck am I going to do? I'm freaking out. So you want to take a couple of minutes and just write down all those things that you're thinking and feeling about your current situation, about your current business. And it's going to be a little different for each one of us, but we can use the same process on it. First thing we want to do is write down everything that we're thinking. Then pick one thing on that list, probably the thing that you're thinking about the most, and ask yourself, is this true? If I say my business is going to close forever, I'm going out of business because of this COVID-19 thing and my business is shut down, is that true? Well, yep, my business is shut down right now, but is it true that I have to go out of business because of this pandemic? And then you'll get an answer. What does your gut say? Is it true? Yes or no? Now, the second thing you're going to ask yourself, is it 100% true and guaranteed? Is it a for sure that my business will die and I cannot pull it out and there's nothing I can do and it's 100% going out of business? And then ask yourself, is it 100% true? Yes or no? If you get a yes, then you have to really go back and say, well, is it because I don't want to do that business anymore? Is it because it's time for me to transition and go to something new, and this is my opportunity to switch gears, change direction completely, and stop doing that business. Now that's different, and that feels very different if I'm making a conscious decision and realizing that I don't want to do this business anymore. And I've been there. I've had businesses where I was in, we were doing really well, cranking along, and I realized, like a cold shower, that I hated the business. I hated the industry. I hated what I was doing, and I hated the actual things that I needed to do every single day to make that business work. And those were the businesses that I got myself out of. I either sold or divested or just switched gears and did something else. But I'll be honest, I needed a huge wake-up call in some situations to make that decision, to make that choice. And usually my wake-up calls came in the form of really big health challenges. And that meant that I needed to make a change that I wasn't paying attention to. You know, there's 7 areas of our life that we really need to pay at least some attention to all of the time. And that's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relationships, financial, and contribution. If we ignore any one of those areas of our life for too long, it's at our peril, and they will, the world, the universe, God, whatever you believe, something will happen to cause you to have to pay attention to that area of your life. So our first step was to check your thinking. Our second step is to ask yourself, oh, and I didn't even go through all the processes. What do you want? But what do you really want? If you don't know what you want, ask yourself, what don't I want? I don't want my business to die. I don't want my business to go out of business. So then what you do want is the opposite of that. I want my business to survive, and not only survive, but to thrive this current challenge, this pandemic. And then now you know what you want. So then the third step is to ask yourself, what can I do? What can you do right now to move you toward that thing that you want? I want my business to survive this. So what is, your business is shut down by the government right now. You can't open it up the way you were before, but what can you do? What can you do right now to ensure and make sure that your business does survive this, and not only survives it, but thrives it, and comes out better off than when we entered the pandemic and the shutdowns and whatever's going on in your particular situation. So we're going to focus on what we can do. And step 4, we're going to do that. We're going to do one thing every single day to move us toward what we want. It can be a little thing, it can be a big thing, but we're going to take at least one step every day to make sure that what we want becomes a reality. And that's how we do everything. That's how you eat the elephant, right? One bite at a time. That's how we make sure we're better off at the end of this pandemic than at the beginning, by doing one step every single day to move us toward what we want. And then what's step 5? Step 5 is always repeat, right? It's repeat. Check your thinking. What are you thinking? Is it really true? Is it not true? Is it guaranteed? We can do this with our beliefs. We can do it with our thinking. We can do it with our past experiences. And we can use this process to clean out all the clutter and stuff that's blocking us from actually deciding and determining and choosing what we want. And then once we know what we want, we focus on what we can do. We focus on solutions, not the problem. You never solve anything by focusing on the problem, right? Look at the war on drugs. Has focusing on the problem created more drugs or less drugs, right? So we focus on solutions to the problems, not on the problem itself. And we need to do the same thing on an individual and for our businesses level. And then you focus on what you can do. You do that. You do it one step at a time, one day at a time, one thing at a time, to make sure that you're moving toward what you want. So that's what I do when the chips are down. That's what I encourage you to do when the chips are down. If you need help with this in any way, just ask me, hit me up, and I will make sure that you are lined up with the resources that can get you what you specifically need next. Sometimes just what we can do is to ask the question. That's it. That's our idiom for today. The chips are down. If you have an idiom you'd like to know the meaning of, ask in the comments below. If you have a comment or an experience with the chips being down, share that in the comments below to inspire the rest of us as well. That's it. Have an awesome day. I'll of course be see you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where did it come from? And how might you be able to apply it to your situation right now? Have an awesome day.